All right, we are live, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Lake County. I'm your host, David Rich. Have a very special guest on today. I know it's a bit early. Most of you are probably going to start watching this after work tonight. But we have Seale, who is the owner of Jimano's Pizza, which is beloved by a great many people in the area. He is the owner of the name and of 3 locations, Waukegan, Gurnee, and Round Lake, correct?
Yes.
All right. And then my employer, who is Adam Schiff, owns Jimano's in Mundelein, Kenosha, and McHenry.
Correct.
So Jimano's. Everybody loves Jimano's, which is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So real quick, like, how did you get involved in something like this?
How did I get involved in pizzas? Huh? Well, that's a long story. That's a long time ago. You know what? It just spoke to me. I started just as a delivery driver, to be honest with you, and I met a gentleman that bought the location that I was working at. And he was just a great guy, and he gave me an opportunity to work as a manager, and I just enjoyed the fast pace. I love when a kitchen is buried with tickets. It's my favorite, to be honest with you. So I don't get to do as much of that now, but I was just talking to my wife about it. I'm like, that is my favorite, and by far the thing I miss the most at this point, because just kind of overseeing more things, just not being able to be in the weeds as much. It was the best, just being able to have to think on your feet and be quick, and just kind of controlling that. It's stressful, but I always found it to be fun.
It's a challenge. I was a bartender for a long time, and I remember, getting in the weeds is an industry phrase for sure.
Yeah.
And there was definitely an excitement and a challenge to trying to keep up, keep pace with it all. And when you did it right, you're just like, it was an accomplishment. It was really, for sure. Some people don't enjoy that, but that's okay. There are other jobs out there.
It's part of the business. If you've been in it long enough and done it, that it's going to happen, and you're going to have times when you make it through it, and sometimes when you just couldn't, perform like you wanted to, but you learn the most then. So
yeah, 100%. No, it's a very challenging career for sure. Very cool. All right. And you've owned this business for quite a while, right? At least 15, 20 years?
I've been an owner, 21 years. I've been an owner now.
21? Okay, cool.
Yep,
so
21 years. Yep.
What would that make it? 2001?
Yep. Yeah.
No, 2005.
Sorry, 2005.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep, that was 2005.
That's why I worked in the restaurant industry.
Right.
So Edie Marie is saying hello to both of us. Hello, Edie. Edie's a friend of mine, so she's tuning in. That's cool.
Okay.
She lives in Southern Illinois, so she doesn't have the fortune of enjoying Jimano's pizza, but
Oh man. We'll have to send her one.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, cool. And again, like I said, people love Jimano's pizza. I heard nothing but rave reviews about it from people just friends of mine and people that I, associate with. Like everybody, someone mentioned that I work for Jimano's. They're like, oh my God, I love Jimano's. This is so great. So nice job. And I grew up in Mundelein, and we had, Jake's Pizza, and which I think Jimano's has a history with Jake's Pizza, right?
We did have a history with Jake's Pizza. Yeah. So originally when I first started, it was a Jake's Pizza.
Okay.
And the gentleman who bought it, wanted to get out of the Jake's franchise after a little bit of time. Just they were going through some bankruptcy and some issues in that time frame. And so he put together a group of owners that were going to get out. And Jake talked all of them into staying in the franchise, except for the guy I worked for, Jim. And he got out. And they took the phone number, they took the name, they took everything. And we had to essentially start over. That was a fun time frame, because that first weekend the phone didn't ring. I mean, it was shockingly slow, So we actually got on the phone and started calling every customer and letting them know that, hey, we changed names, this is who we are, and then we just kind of grew from there. We made a different product than Jake's Pizza, because Jake's Pizza really didn't police what was going on at the franchises, so we didn't even use their products. We didn't make their pizza, so what was the point, at that point? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I when I was in Little League Baseball, one year my team was Jake's Pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it all comes together.
Yeah.
So, and now Edie Marie is saying, yay, we'll be in town on February 22nd for the Medicare for All Town Hall in Round Lake. Okay, yeah. So if you're there, stop by Jimano. You guys got these huge slices of pizza special, and
Yes.
they're like there's double dough and thin crust, a multitude of different kinds, and they're just a very hearty meal for what, $6, I think. So yeah, no, that's a good deal for sure. Well, very cool. And working in with you for a little while in Vernon Hills, and then working for Adam. I think I've worked for Jimano's for over 4 years now. I think last September was 4 years. I think. You guys have pictures and plaques on the wall, thank yous from all sorts of different people. So there's a real community connection between Jimano's and the community itself, a connection between Jimano's and the community itself.
Yeah, I mean, from early on, when I started as an owner, and I kind of learned this from the gentleman I had worked with, but my focus was I knew I was going to be doing this for a while. It wasn't something that I was going to do for a few years and then sell. I knew I was going to do it for a while. I knew I was going to grow. I was going to, open other locations. So because of that, for me, I felt, it was important to be part of the community, because to be around as long as we have, you see ups and downs, just, from the basic economics of it. Right. Sure. So I knew being part of the community was going to be very much a part of what we wanted to do and who we wanted to be. And this is, 20 years ago. So this was before it became a popular thing to do, right? We were doing it before it became kind of like, all companies and generational thing, but we always worked with schools and baseball teams and then, bigger organizations, so we try to vet most of the places that we work with, because we want to make sure that, it's a good organization, it's giving back. Because there's a lot of charities that, don't necessarily give back like they should, but that's probably a long list. But so we always knew that, that was who we were going to be. We were going to work with local. We try to always keep it as local as possible. We're trying to work with local places, people that are doing good work here in Lake County. We always encourage like the guys in Denver to do work with local charities there in Denver. So yeah, and it's kind of stuck with us. And the more we've grown, the more we've taken that on, I think. And we do a lot of work that you won't see plaques and stuff like. We love that stuff, and we love when people do acknowledge it. But there's a lot of stuff that we do that is just for us, and this is who we want to be associated with, and this is what we want to do. So,
yeah, no, that's great. I mean, community is very important, I think, and local. I started my social media career like 8 or 9 years ago on the radio, and it was a local radio station, and my show was dedicated to local people at events and everything else. And that's why I actually had this show, Let's Talk Lake County, is because I just love the whole idea of local communities. Mm-hmm. That's your home. These are your friends and your family, and these are people that you hang out with often, and it's just important to keep the community connection flowing and vibrant and bright.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, I mean, they know more of what's going on in your community, right? So yeah, and maybe what the needs are in the individual communities once you've got Lake County, and then you get down into the actual individual towns, and so yeah, that's why I think it's good to be a part of that.
Yeah, for sure, and especially the emphasis on like little league teams and stuff like that, just helping the kids and sponsoring the kids, stuff like that. That's probably the foundation of all communities are kids.
Yeah,
they're gonna rule the world one day.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that they're healthy and good to go. Supported. So that's very cool. And you were doing in Vernon Hills. I know you were doing like a monthly charity thing. Is that right? Do I remember?
Yeah, we did that for 2 years in Vernon Hills, almost 2 years, I think it was. So we worked with a lot of places, big and small. Seale's a big one that we do a lot of work with. In fact,
I used to work for Seale, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In fact, we were one of their honorees last year at their gala. So we've done a lot of work through the years with them, probably going back 15 years. We started working with them. We did an event with them where Discover was buying a playground for them, putting in a special needs playground. And Chicago Bears were out there doing an event, and they needed food. Neat. So that we fed everybody, and then that was kind of the start of the whole relationship. And so we're always happy to be part of that. We did pads. Anybody in Lake County knows pads,
Sure.
I think we donated a couple of times to them. Love Inc. is another one that's in Waukegan.
That's Love in the Name of Christ. I remember. Yeah, that's a Christian.
So they're bigger.
It supports people. Like people go to people's houses who can't help themselves very much, and they just hang out with them and spend time with them. So it's fabulous.
And they have they also have a facility where if they have furniture and all kinds of supplies, right? Everything that you may need. If you took, like, let's say you got housing all of a sudden but didn't have money to buy stuff, they have all of that kind of stuff. So they take it in as donations and then they give it out. So they're one in Waukegan that we've worked with.
Cool.
And then we've got people who just do good work that maybe aren't necessarily your standard, they are not a 501 or 503, whatever. And they're just doing great stuff. We have a lady, Susan Pewson. I think that's right. Okay. And she does a thing where she does like 1,000 chemo bags. Like this is like for people who are in the hospital going through chemo, and it's like socks and blankets and just like this care package. And she does it all on her own. So she does this once a year. And so that's a lady that, we give to. It's not one of those that is a true charity. So
right. No, not a legally established charity.
Yes. Right. But we love what she does. She's out there doing it on her own because of her own experience with cancer. So that's a great one. I met her through the College Lake County. I think she did do some teaching at College Lake County in nursing department and stuff, but that's how I met her.
I'm going to text you after the show to ask you if you could send me her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Spell out her name because I would love to have her on the show. That's amazing. A friend of mine died of leukemia, and chemo sucks. So good for her for doing that. That's
it's great. It's great to find those people who are really, they
just doing it of their own moral volition.
Right. And she would do it whether we supported her or sponsored her. Hopefully we made it a little bit bigger for her, and made her be able to get more. But she was doing it before we ever sponsored, and she was doing it out of her own money and maybe getting some items donated. But so that's pretty impressive. So when we met her, we're like, this is one we got to do,
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Keeping Families Covered is another Lake County one that does a lot of work. I think they started as just like they started. I'm trying to remember now. They started out like diapers and that kind of thing for needed for kids, and then they've grown into like they basically give out all kinds of supplies. They give everything that family could need. They set up monthly in different church parking lots, and you can drive through and they'll load your car up. And but the diapers is the core of it and where it started.
Sorry,
and then. But they do more than that now. So they're a pretty big place, and they do great work. In fact, I think they've expanded to McHenry County.
Oh, right. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, no, that's a great thing that you do in helping sponsor other, local charities and stuff like that. Is awesome. Would you say in your business worthwhileness that a lot of other businesses do things like this, or do you think that it's very few?
I think that a lot of people want to do stuff. I think that we get hit with a lot of, we get tons of emails for stuff, right?
That's one of the things about charities. Like you get given to one, then you're getting calls from everybody.
Right. Absolutely. And some of them are kind of like, is this something, some of them aren't necessarily charities. They're just donations and raffles and all this kind of stuff. And we do a lot of that stuff, but you get hit with a lot of them. And I think that can be overwhelming to businesses sometimes.
Sure.
Like, who do you work with? Who is doing the real work? And do you have time as a small business owner to vet those places?
Right.
I've always had a great relationship with a guy named Jimmy Connell. He does a lot of stuff in the Libertyville area. He's from Libertyville, but he's been in Lake County his whole life, and he knows all of these charities, And so I got to spend a lot of time with him. And he really helped me understand which ones were doing good work, what they were doing. He was a great guy just to kind of network with and get to meet some of these places, and understand what they're doing. So that was good because he knew what I wanted to do. He knew I wanted to give back and give us, whenever we could. And so, he really helped us with that and kind of opened our eyes to maybe some bigger and better places that are working in Lake County,
Yeah. No, for sure. And I want to. You mentioned like as a small business owner, they might not have time to like go do a real genuine vetting of places. I just want to tell people like working for small businesses, restaurants, bars, and stuff like that for so long. Owning a small business, people like to think of as like business owners as like this elite class of like lazy people who just sit around and collect money, and that's not even slightly true.
Yeah.
It is very difficult work owning a business on your own. It is, you have to be there 20, I mean, accessible, available 24/7. You're working, 60 to 80 hours a week. If a manager calls in sick or goes on vacation, you got to cover them. I mean, hiring people, staffing is such a pain in the ass. Like getting good people to work for you for a long period of time. And
Yeah.
you seem built for that. I mean, you seem like you're really able to get in there and do like talking about like being, the joy of being in the weeds. It's that kind of like disposition that you have that you can really kind of handle it.
Well, for the first 6 years as an owner, I didn't take a vacation. 6 years
Right,
as an
stuff
owner,
like
no
that.
vacation,
Right,
right?
exactly. It's
And I
nuts.
worked sun up to sundown,
Yeah.
like past sundown. I was out of the house though. I wouldn't see my daughters at all, basically, at that
Right.
time frame. Like they'd be in
Yeah.
bed when I got home at night. And that was just kind of trying to grow the business. And you over that time, you do build relationships with employees that down the road you're going to trust, and maybe you'll be able to remove yourself a little bit. But it is not like a side business being in the restaurant business.
It's not a hobby.
I've seen lots of people like, oh, I'm going to buy a restaurant, and it's like, it doesn't work like that, So, but for me, I feel like, it just spoke to me, it was just something like I could handle this. I loved being busy. I loved having, this is going to sound bad, I loved having control of the room. I always felt like people were looking at you in that moment, like for what their reaction was going to be. Were they going to lose it? Were they going to stay calm? Were they going to stay cool? And sometimes it's an act. You're just acting, like, hey, yeah, we expected this to happen. This is not necessarily, but but so there's that. You give that off, and then I think that people then trust in you and be like, okay, let's do it. And they're going to do the best that they can. But and maybe a little bit of like. A little bit of people pleasing. I always like to cook. So I was like, when people tell me, that they love this or love this item, always get the breadsticks, but I'll be out and about with Jimano stuff and somebody says something to you. It means a lot, to be honest with you. I mean, to be a small business and be in business as long as we have is, something that most people say is impressive. I've never really thought of it, but, I do get it sometimes. I'm like, I guess so, but it was kind of our goal. We knew we were going to be around for a while.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, you have been. And it doesn't look like you're going anywhere anytime soon because it seemed, like I said, everybody loves Jimanos. My mother even said that your breadsticks are literally, she used the word perfect.
Yeah. People love the breadsticks.
They love them. They're really good. So that's cool. Yes. So very cool. All right. Anything else you wanted to plug about Jimanos before we call it?
Oh man, I'm not very good about, patting ourselves on the back. It's just kind of what we do, I just
that really... even adds to your character is that, you're not like arrogant about it. Like, you're modest about and genuine about your own, like, your talents, but you don't like, look at me.
Yeah. The funny thing is I'll meet lots of people who like our social media people will want to put some stuff out. And I'm like, no, we didn't do that for that, and then they will sometimes encourage me and get me to do it, but a lot of what we do is not really for your traditional marketing. It's to build relationships. It's to help the community, as much as we can. And that's really it in a nutshell, If we can do those things and we can help people, then to me, that's what we're here for. It's what we want to do and what we want to be known for, and I don't think you necessarily have to, everything has to be about marketing it, putting it out there in front of people. So I choose not to do that. And so people get a little cranky with me about that, but that's how I feel about it.
Well, I think you're doing great at it for sure. I've known you for a while. I've worked for you. So I think everything you're saying is genuinely true. everybody that's listening. Okay, this is not again like some sort of like sales pitch on the side or something.
Yeah,
like
no, really, to be honest with you, if you really take it back, I'll give you one story that I kind of keep close to my heart, and that kind of drives most of this. So I had an uncle that was homeless. We didn't know that he was homeless. He didn't kind of really communicate that with us. And this was during the time frame when I was working all the time. So I didn't really spend much time with that part of my family. I barely saw my immediate family.
Yeah.
But so he was homeless. He had some mental illness issues, and he was not getting his medication. And so one day in the wintertime, he was staying at a church shelter, and a lot of times they close during the day. They're there for the night, and then they have to move on during the day or go find something to do, keep themselves busy. And he, for whatever reason, obviously we're going to say that most likely he was just not being on his medication and kind of not being in his right mind at that time. He wandered off and never made it back to this, place that saw him all the time. They knew him by name. He was always there. And he ended up trying to stay warm. Like he ended up in a garage, and he died in that garage that night. Yeah. So for me, I always felt bad that I wasn't able to do more for him, because I would have done anything, really, to be honest with you. This was an uncle that I spent a lot of time with. I grew up spending summers with my grandparents, and he was the youngest of all their kids. So he was there all the time. So I spent a lot of time around him. And so that really hit hard. And it was probably around that time that we're like, okay, we're really going to try to do the best and the most that we can, And the two things we really tend to, like to work with our kids, because they're the foundation, and homelessness, of people either homeless or, having a really hard time making it, needing all kinds of essentials that we're used to, And so, that kind of drives my passion for it, and why I don't really need it to be an advertising thing. It's more self-fulfilling than it is about an advertisement or Jimano's business necessarily, But,
right.
So that's why I'm passionate about it, and why we love to give back, as much as we can.
Good. I'm sorry to hear that about your uncle. That's too bad. I lived in Portland, Oregon for a while, and the homelessness, it's right in front of you, and it's just, that's a terrible. Could you imagine like having to sleep outside in this weather?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, how just despairing and just awful that is. Like, just think, like, just put yourself in there for a couple of seconds. Like, it's awful.
And that, for his case, and his case only, most likely it would have been as easy as somebody supplying his medication for him.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that when you said that, I was thinking about our healthcare system. Like, you got
I mean, it's it's maddening, because obviously for me, I would have bought him his medication. That was right. I would have done anything for him. But so to not know and it be that simple is, really disheartening when you think about it.
Tough.
And that
That's
there's,
tough.
And there's a lot more like that same story for a lot of people.
Oh, 100%.
And,
it's nasty. Yeah, that's there are a lot of issues involving your one story about your uncle, like just socially, politically, economically. There's all sorts of things you could unravel from that one experience, for sure. So, all right, cool. Are you wearing your Sox hat? I'm wearing my Cubs hat.
No, I'm not. I can't wear my Sox hat yet. I just got out of wearing Bears stuff. And I'm kind of trying, and I'm a big Bulls fan until this week.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm just trying to separate myself from sports right now. So I've been wearing Jimano stuff, and I'll
transition centered again. I tell you, man, that last game of the Bears, that last interception, God.
Well, what?
After he just threw one of the greatest passes of all times, he throws an interception and loses they needed one more first down. They would have been in field goal range, and they would have kicked it, and we would have won.
I think that's what makes it. That made it so you look back and it was a great season, but
absolutely
in that moment, you're like, we could have won this. It could have even been a better season.
We were
there.
Close.
We were right there, and so I think that made it even harder. But
100%. Sure.
But it's nice to be able to think about the Bears being successful moving forward,
especially after the previous year. Because the previous year was so just dismally awful. It was very, very exciting season for sure.
Yeah.
I regret none of it except for that last interception. But what are you going to do? So very cool. All right, good. All right, Rod, it's good to see you. Glad you're feeling better.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
for coming on the show and telling us about Jimanos and all that you do, because I know you guys do a lot for the community. And again, just like, from a business perspective, people love your products. They really do. I mean, just, I have friends that are like lawyers and judges, and I was like, oh my God, I love Jimanos. So it's good. It's fair for all sorts of people. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Lake County. Till next time, keep talking. Hold on a second, Rod.